everybody, and welcome to another Work It Wednesday. This week is going to be the first of 2 weeks looking at the medium trot steps. Today we're going to have a look at introducing them to a young or inexperienced horse for the first time. This video is going to be as raw as they come. JJ has never been asked to do medium trot before. It was a completely new concept to him today, so you have got the footage of it from the very first exercises we've done with it to how he ended the session today. And don't get me wrong, it was nothing particularly special by the end of today, but I was really pleased with the progress he made and the fact that he was really starting to get the idea. So there's 6 things we're going to be looking at. The raised trot poles, elastic band, like a resistance bands around their quarters. You can buy specialist pads for these, but I actually made the one you'll see in the video. So I got the pad and then I've sewn the clips on myself, and I've bought the TheraBand from like a physio website, and it was much cheaper, bit time consuming but much cheaper. And I actually combined the raised trot poles and the elastic resistance band. You'll see JJ doing the trot poles with the resistance band on. The trotting up the hills I haven't got any footage of because nobody wanted to walk with me to the nearest hill to film JJ trotting up it, but I will just talk a little bit about that. The back and on in the trot is this way round because it's not about pushing the horse forward and then bringing it back. It's about asking the horse to slow down, step under, and then allowing forward. And when we get to the video, I'll explain why that's so important. Spiralling in and out on the circle, and then actually practicing diagonal lines of medium trot. So this is the first 2 exercises combined, like I said. So I do the raised trot poles on the lunge because it's just so much easier when you haven't got another set of hands to help you. It means you haven't got to get off if they knock them down. You can just walk over and do it. I have nothing on his head and neck. My horses are taught to lunge without gadgets eventually, and as you can see when he starts to use himself properly, the head and neck drop. So I do this to encourage the horses to learn to push from behind. So to get over the poles, especially if they're a little bit longer than their natural trot stride, they have to push with the hind leg to get through them. And a medium trot is essentially like a push from the hind leg. The resistance band just makes this harder work and makes the push more exaggerated. So this is the next exercise. This is the back and on, but I start in walk, especially with ponies that are a bit sharp like JJ is. Here I am actually asking him to walk, but when his brain overloads he just freezes. So it's all about shrinking the steps as slow and as short as you can get them, and then allowing them to go forward, and as you do, like encouraging the head and neck to drop, elongate, and the step cover more ground. So I like to do this in the walk, so then we get the concept of the aids for the back and the aids for the forward, and it just means when we get into the trot, those are a little bit more cemented. So to ask him to come back, I'm dropping the lower leg underneath me and down and back so that it's right down under that shoulder hip heel line. I am lifting up through my core, so I'm imagining there's a ball in the middle of my core and I'm pulling it up towards my head and out the back of my shoulders. So using my whole body aid to slow him down, and then lifting the bit slightly in his mouth just to encourage him to come up and back in the frame. And then when I'm allowing him to go forward, I'm sliding the lower leg slightly forward, dropping the hand, therefore dropping the bit in his mouth, and squeezing with the upper and the lower leg to squish him into a forward, more ground covering walk. So then I change the rein and I'm doing the same in the trot. So that's his normal trot. And then I put the body positioning in and ask him just to shrink, shorten and slow down, using the speed of my rising to keep the tempo of the trot the same, and then just asking him to step forward slightly. Now that was a bit more up and tense than I'd like. I'd like him to drop the head and neck and come forward. As you can see, I do keep scratching his neck and patting him, but there, that hind leg is starting to step through and push more. So then I will repeat and ask him to slow down again, see if I can keep him a little bit softer. But it's just encouraging him in that sit moment to take the weight on the hind leg so that it's engaged and pushing underneath him. And then when you ask him to go forward, that hind leg stays pushing and engaged. So rather than running faster, the horse creates a bigger trot with more cadence, which is what you want for your medium steps. So he stayed much lower there. And although it's still a little bit choppy in front, the hind leg is taking bigger steps and pushing through, which is what I want to achieve. And each time you repeat it, they should just get a little bit more understanding, a little bit better in the step, and hopefully a little bit more relaxed as they're starting to grasp the concept of what you're asking. But it's all about staying happy, comfortable and soft, and not stressing them out, because if you stress them out, they won't be relaxed through their back, and therefore they won't be pushing properly. And unless they're pushing properly, you're just going to have a horse running fast across the diagonal, which is not what we want at all. So there you can see actually that trot is starting to gain some ground cover in the odd step anyway. So this is the next exercise. This is the spiralling in and out. So I'm going to swap my diagonal and gently use my body, seat and hand to flick him into outside bend. When I've established the outside bend and my weight over that outside hind leg, I'm going to use that outside leg to just spiral him in, asking him to step under and carry my body weight on that outside, so that right hind leg. And then when we've established the circle, the smaller circle, I'm then going to ask him to step out while staying an outside bend. So really asking that inside hind to push and carry the weight. Then you swap the bend back to the inside bend and allow the trot forward. So as they swap from that outside to the inside bend, it becomes much more natural for them to move forward. And if you apply a leg aid at the same time, you get a bigger and more pushing trot because you've engaged the hind legs in that spiral. Then we'll just change the rein and have another go the other way. But it's all about creating exercises where the hind leg has to sit and push and carry the body weight, and then using that engagement to allow the trot to get bigger, and therefore the trot gets bigger without rushing. And then you get the more air time, which creates a good medium trot rather than just the running. So again, flick into outside bend, establish the outside bend and leg yield in away from what is now my left leg, establish the circle in the middle, and then using the right leg going this way, so the inside leg, to push the horse out, getting that right hind leg to really step under and carry the horse's body weight out to the bigger circle, change, bend to the inside, and then allow the horse forward as it gets easier for them to travel forward in that inside bend. Apply the leg aid and ask them to step under, pushing, and with a bigger, more ground covering trot. Again, keep the tempo the same using your rises. Don't worry if something like that happens. I just got a little bit greedy, asked for a little bit too much trot, and he just went to pop into canter. But don't tell them off for this. Keep everything nice and relaxed. And then we have an actual play at trying them across the diagonals. Now, don't get overly exuberant when you do this. Bear in mind that they are new to this. So all around this edge and these corners, I'm checking that I can control the tempo with my rising so that I can stop him running just by changing the speed of my rise and sit. And then I squeeze and encourage him to almost run on the forehand a little bit, but he got a little bit bigger in the trot without getting much faster. So he got a pat and got rewarded because I felt like he got the idea then. Again, trying to encourage that head and neck nice and low, that push from behind. And although you can't see much difference to sit on, I could feel the hind leg stepping under more. And as long as he's doing that, we're heading in the right direction. So he'd get a pat and I was really pleased with him. So this one's a bit of an example of when it goes wrong. So I felt he was stepping really nice and there was a little bit more to have. And I was trying to do a couple of transitions and I just got a bit greedy. So he popped into canter. But as you can see, lots of pats, no telling off. Like he's just trying to find the right answer. He's giving me all different options until I tell him he's found the right one. And again, that one was just a little bit nervous because he felt like he'd given me the wrong answer, which he had, but it's fine because he's learning. So we don't worry, we just keep patting him and we come round and we try again. And as you can see, I'm sort of splitting it into 2 halves and pushing and then come back and then push again, just because it stops them sort of grabbing the bit and running across the diagonal. You need him to learn to push and sit rather than just grab the bit and go. So we'll have a little push and then back and then try again. And it just encourages a little bit more expression in the front leg. And now this is the very final attempt we did. I've slowed it down a bit so you can see it a bit better, because it's a little bit faster than I'd like. But this is the last medium trot he did on his first day of learning, and I was absolutely thrilled with it. Like, I really felt he was starting to get the idea through there. So just as a little recap, these are the things we've looked at. I will just briefly talk about trotting up the hills. If you're trotting up a hill, it physically puts the weight on the hind leg for you, because the horse is obviously tilted at an angle. So if you ask them to do a bigger trot up a hill, they have to push with the hind leg. So you tend to get a better front leg action and more cadence. So that can really help. And also being out and about and not confined to the school can help them. So if you've got a hill out hacking, it can be really beneficial to give it a go up there. I hope all these little exercises help you think about how to start those medium steps with your horses. All of you competing at prelim, I can't wait to see your attempts. And those of you who have novice Ellie horses, we will do another Work It Wednesday on how to develop the medium trot in a horse that's already sort of got the concept. So until then, thank you for watching. This has been a rider to rider support video through Dressage Addict.